Hello, I'm Maciej Mikos and you're watching The Bottom Line, where we analyze the most important business-related stories of the day. NATO leaders are meeting in The Hague, where a major shift is on the table. A plan to boost defense spending to 5% of GDP, with Poland already nearing that level. But the push for increased spending isn't just about defense. It could also reshape industries and stimulate economic growth. Let's have a look at this report by Jan Kennedy.
The NATO summit kicked off in The Hague on Wednesday. Amid expectations, the two-day conference will conclude with a joint declaration from members to commit 5% of their GDP on defence.
The Europe of defence has finally awakened. Tomorrow the summit will set indeed historic new spending targets for NATO allies.
We talk about increase which is more than doubling, and in many cases, in case of some countries, it's even more, like 3 times more than they had.
One country already stands out: Poland. As NATO's biggest defence spender relative to its GDP at 4.7% this year, and with a similar level of spending likely to continue, Poland's economy could see a range of benefits.
When Polish companies are important subcontractors of some foreign entities who are primary beneficiaries, then of course this constitutes an opportunity for Poland and for Polish economy to develop some technologies or to acquire new technologies, to build new capacities when it comes to military production. And of course, it bolsters future growth.
That said, not all NATO member states are on board. Some, including Spain, are sceptical about the 5% commitment, while many others are struggling to meet the previous 2% goal. Analysts have questioned the feasibility of this new benchmark.
I really do not believe that they can raise the defense spending to 5% of GDP. To be honest, I don't believe they can raise it to 3% of GDP. They will struggle to increase it to 2%, the previous target. From the political point of view, it's very difficult. The budgets are stretched. The fiscal deficits in countries other than Germany are high.
After 2 years of sluggish growth, Germany's new government is betting on an increased defence spending to revive the economy. The country plans to raise its defence budget from the current 95 billion to over 160 billion euros by 2029, offering an opportunity for companies to expand into the defence sector.
More defence spending means a build-up of more capacities and an opportunity for other companies to supply these defence producers. We will likely have new companies entering the market. We will probably have also spending that makes it easier for startups to grow and become significant suppliers of defense procurement, possibly in the drone business.
This ambitious drive to reach 5%, comprising 3.5% in hard defence spending and 1.5% in infrastructure investment, stands to benefit the tightly interconnected economies of Central and Eastern Europe.
I believe there can be some trickle off or trickle down towards our economies. Those infrastructural contracts can be realized also by foreign subcontractors, which quite likely are to come from either Poland or other Central Eastern European economies.
With Poland already reaching the 5% mark and Germany unveiling an ambitious plan to revive its economy through increased defence spending, it remains to be seen whether other countries will follow suit and capitalise on potential economic benefits.
And now, joining us to dig further into the topic of defense spending and its impact on Europe's economy, we have Klaus-Jürgen Gern, Senior Manager at the Kiel Institute for the War Economy. Good afternoon.
Hello from Kiel.
So, ahead of the NATO summit in The Hague, the alliance looks set to finally agree to commit to the spending of 5% GDP on defense. But what are the short and long-term economic consequences of this, well, major shift in European defense policy?
Yes, I think we should be aware that this increase of spending will take some time, at least if it is going to be prudent measures, because if you ramp up spending extremely quickly, then you run into capacity constraints. You end up spending a lot of money for higher prices and not more weapons or infrastructure. In quite a number of countries, the economy is close to full employment, and it is not so easy to provide the real side of this effort without increasing prices in the segments that are affected.
I see. But okay, so those are the cons, I guess, potential cons. But can NATO nations also expect the increase in the defense spending that would ultimately lead to a major investment boom and, well, with it, economic growth, of course?
Yes. I mean, in principle, we should be aware that defense spending is not the most productive way to use public money. We have talked a lot about the peace dividend in the 1990s when we reduced defense spending and have been able to relocate defense budgets to other things, or to cut taxes and free the private side of the economy from this load on the economic potential. And now we have to reverse this, and nobody denies that it's necessary at the moment. But we should not expect this to be a longer term win-win for the economy. It is a cost to the economy in the end, and that's something we should be aware of. We in the near term we can finance this by increasing the budget deficits. In Poland, for example, you have been increasing the defense spending already, but also at the cost of quite high budget deficit. And the problem is defense spending is going to stay at that level for quite some time. So it is not reasonable to do this in the way of deficit financing only. We have to reallocate fiscal resources. We have to make hard choices, and this is not an easy thing to do.
So to sum up, because this 5% threshold that is being discussed in The Hague today this criteria is to be met by 2032, if I'm not mistaken. So in this short term, to sum up, is there a threat that Europe will deepen its debt to quite a dangerous level?
Well, I think there are some countries where the risk exists that a significant increase in deficit at this moment can lead us into some sustainability issues and questions by the financial markets again. In other countries, notably Germany, this risk is probably not there. But there we will see an increase of the budget deficit in the coming years, which is, by the way, not covered by the European budget fiscal rules. The German constitution has been changed to allow for this, but the European fiscal rules have not. So there is some gap in the institutional arrangements that still has to be bridged going forward in order to make all this possible. But in the medium term, also in Germany, we will have to make sure that defense spending, at least, maybe not the infrastructure part that you've been talking about, but the defense spending in the narrow sense, that has finally to be covered by revenues, by normal revenues, and not by deficits, in order to be a prudent fiscal, to make a prudent fiscal situation.
Right, you have already partially answered my next question, but to be more precise, what will be the exact impact of these decisions if they are indeed undertaken today in The Hague on the everyday lives of us, Europeans?
Yeah, that's a good question. We will see a lot of discussion about measures, fiscal expenditures in other areas of the economy or the social life, because the budgets will be stretched to the limits, and every additional endeavor of the governments that they would like to do on other fronts will have to be questioned, and in light of the need to reshuffle or reallocate resources towards defense, which is the highest priority at the moment.
But is it like we're discussing guns instead of butter? You know, the 19th century slogan?
To some extent, this may be true. So we will have to look at other expenditure. Can we make the expenditure side more efficient? Can we make decisions to cut down on some things that we would like to have or could have in a peaceful environment, but may not be able to afford anymore when we have to spend, 3% more of GDP towards defense spending. This is quite a bit. And the second thing is, of course, we need also to reallocate the resources on the real side towards this. This means infrastructure needs building capacity, planning capacity, and so on, which is in some countries, including Germany, not readily available. A little bit better is the situation in the industrial sector, where we have quite a bit of spare capacity in some parts of the industry, which are relatively close to defense industries, and so some labor or engineers or something can probably move quite at the moment quite easily towards production of defense procurement, but in some other countries, it even may be more difficult than before. And maybe finally, we should, the highest priority in my view has to be make the European defense arrangements more efficient. We are spending already so much more than Russia does, for example, on in absolute terms, with a quite disappointing result in terms of actual security, and here is I think a lot of changes that can be made to make the defense in Europe more efficient and reduce the cost of increased security.
I have one last question to you. The US has repeatedly shown, just like we've seen it recently in Iran, that it has the best and, well, the most efficient defense industry in the world. Now, what American mechanisms should Europeans copy then?
Well, maybe the biggest difference is that America has one big customer and quite relatively low number of big producers, and there is quite an arrangement. That one company is providing the tanks, the other the fighter planes. But in Europe, we have vested interests in several countries. We have a lot of different systems that are not easy to integrate, and here there's also difficult decisions to be taken. So my fear is that this money the governments are now committing to spend will, of course, people want to have it spent in their own country, and then they will order things that are produced in the country and not maybe the things that are mostly needed to ramp up the defense system and increase security in the fastest and most efficient way.
So it seems that The Hague could be just the beginning of a major European discussion on defense spending. Klaus Jürgen, Senior Manager at the Kiel Institute for the War Economy, was our guest today. Thank you kindly.
Thank you very much for having me. Bye.
Thank you. And that's all in today's episode of The Bottom Line. We bring you the top business stories from the region Monday to Friday at 5:10 CET on TVP World. In the meantime, for the latest in the regional business, follow us on X and on tvpworld.com. And for more news and analyses, please stay with us here on TVP World.